Hi, I'm Peter Cowman. I run the Living Architecture Center. I'm an architect, I'm a teacher, writer, and an eco builder. And since 1989, I have been teaching people how to design and construct homes suited to their lives and to the life of the planet, what I call shelter making. Now, house design has never been a part of the architectural profession, but belongs to an independent vernacular architecture tradition controlled by people and by communities. And it was the advent of the Industrial Revolution that saw the demise of these vernacular architecture traditions. And as a result of that, the knowledge of how people could create affordable natural buildings for their own needs essentially was lost. Now, as a result of this, when I myself began teaching shelter making, I had to develop a new design methodology in order to reconnect people with this ancient tradition. Now, when students began constructing and then living in their designs, these homes revealed an aliveness that was quite remarkable. And it appeared to be the case that these homes were functioning as a nutrient for the development of their inhabitants' lives. And it was these experiences that gave rise to the notion of a living architecture, an awareness that the buildings people inhabit play a vital role in their lives. Now, there are numerous articles and videos on the livingarchitecturecenter.com and the sheltermaker.com websites that explore these ideas. So it would be worthwhile having a look at some of those. Now, the notion that buildings have living aspects is not actually a new one. The Chinese feng shui tradition and the older Indian tradition of Vastu Shastra have these principles really at their core, and indeed most vernacular architecture traditions throughout the world focus on the channeling of beneficent energy to a building's inhabitants to ensure their good health, prosperity, and fortune. And they portray the house design and construction processes as the creation of the world. In other words, when a person embarks on designing and constructing their own home, effectively what they're doing is yet they're creating their world for themselves in order to live their lives. Now, this alludes to what I myself call the invisible aspects of architecture. So these are the parts of buildings that cannot be seen and yet have a profound impact on the design and construction processes and also on the lives of the people living in these buildings. Now, when we look closely at these aspects of invisible architecture, it turns out that they're very similar to the invisible aspects of people themselves. So mythology, dream, emotion, intention, aspiration, life, energy, and so on all belong to this invisible realm. And we directly engage with this when we embark on the shelter making process. And it's this engagement which facilitates us in understanding ourselves and our role in life. Now, with the demise of the vernacular architecture traditions and their deep engagement with these vital but invisible aspects of life, house design became part of a building industry, and houses themselves became just another commodity cut off from the deeper aspects of society and culture. And of course, this has resulted in the creation of buildings, particularly houses, that for all intents and purposes can be considered to be dead because they do not facilitate meaningful engagement with life. Now, in comparison to this, the shelter making process creates an ideal context for people to meaningfully engage with life in general and with their own lives in particular. Now, the demise of the vernacular house building traditions and the development of a modern building industry is what has created the modern home. Now, lacking a guiding code of practice, because there is no professional body overseeing house design methodologies. It's not part of the architectural profession. There's no professional body overseeing the house design process itself. So lacking a guiding code of practice or a comprehensive design methodology, and ignoring the invisible yet vital aspects of life, the building industry is focused on utilizing the house as the engine which drives economic growth, forcing people to conform to predetermined structures which suit neither people nor planet. Now, the consequences of this are the overexploitation of renewable resources, environmental destruction, climate change, pollution, debt and waste mountains, and the elimination of any reference to the invisible aspects of life which really lend meaning to our lives. Now, where the modern doctrine of sustainability seeks to redress this imbalance, it unfortunately operates within such tight confines that it is widely seen as business as usual. Now, in comparison to this, the shelter making process offers a comprehensive and exciting way of managing one's response to the current state of the world, because the shelters we inhabit connect to all the major aspects of our lives, to food, water, clothing, identity, dream, culture, social engagement, transport, communications, and so on. Engaging then in the shelter making process has the effect of awakening the inherent knowledge held within our genes, which facilitate us in connecting to the visible as well as the invisible aspects of our individual lives and to the life of the planet itself. So this experience brings one to the realization that the complications normally associated with designing and building homes mainly relates to these invisible aspects of life. So if these are properly managed during the design process, then the physical construction of a building can be very straightforward indeed, which is exactly what one wants. In other words, the complications of one's life, the complications associated with living, if they are dealt with as part of the design process, which can happen literally at the kitchen table, then the building itself can be made very, very simply and very straightforwardly, because these complications will have been properly managed and then they're not mixed into the construction process itself. So the shelter making approach offers a proven and unrivaled means of finding our way out of the modern paradox whereby our way of life is destructive to the very life it claims to support. Now, the current Sheltermaker course has evolved from the first courses I delivered almost 25 years ago. And over the years, many hundreds of people throughout the world have participated in these courses, creating many, many, many houses that are lived in very happily and successfully. And all of this has contributed greatly to the development of the shelter making concept and obviously benefited people's day-to-day lives. So the unique experience of the Sheltermaker course connects us to life in a way that is actually very familiar. Now this arises because shelter making reconnects us to the ancient vernacular architecture traditions and stimulates the deep connections we all have to the visible and invisible aspects of life itself. Now, while the course presents us with serious questions and challenges, it also provides a myriad of answers to the most serious questions of our day: how we might live our lives in harmony with the natural world and fulfill the potential of our lives. Now, the course material itself consists of the 2 volumes of the Sheltermaker's manual, which contain a comprehensive step-by-step design program that's supported with pre-formatted worksheets. So the work itself is very carefully structured and is very straightforward. So this design program then examines in detail each relevant aspect of a design in turn. And it's then at the end of this process that the student is directed in the creation of a comprehensive plan. Now, this approach easily accommodates any design aspiration or desired way of life, as well as allowing for the importation of information or expertise from outside sources. So incorporating, for example, permaculture principles, or working with a draftsperson or a building designer, or conforming to local regulations can all be easily accommodated within that course structure, which allows for balanced, workable and affordable designs to be evolved, which take full account of an individual's circumstances and needs within the context of the natural world in which we live. Now, this design strategy can be applied to the creation of both new buildings or the replanning of an existing one in whatever part of the world one happens to live or wish to live. So whatever one's aspirations are, no previous experience of design, construction or drawing is needed to get the most from participating in the course. A positive attitude and a commitment to the process is all that is required. Now, Sheltermaker is all about taking responsibility for one's life, and it's for this reason the course allows us to look at ourselves and the lives we have to live, and facilitates us in making sensible choices and decisions, in creating an ideal context within which these lives can unfold fruitfully. Now, so effective is this strategy in connecting people with what might best be described as the dream of their lives, that the development of a design can act as a self-developmental tool, whereby the designer benefits from the design experience without needing to construct their design in the real world. Now, that's quite remarkable. Just by moving through the shelter making process, by creating a design and possibly a model of it, that oftentimes can be sufficient to give a person a deep insight into their own lives, without the need to go out and actually create that building in the first place. And this is because shelter making connects to all these different aspects of our lives. So it's this aspect really of the course that highlights the important role which architecture plays in everyone's life, and reveals the potential that architecture offers in respect of understanding not only our individual selves, but also understanding other people and understanding the wider world in which these lives are lived. Now, the course structure consists of 5 segments, which are delivered to the students over the internet at 1 month intervals. Now, these segments consist of an exclusive video overview of the topics to be considered in that particular segment, plus insights and recommendations as to how a student can most benefit from the work to be carried out. Now, after receiving each segment, the student has 3 weeks to carry out their design work and to prepare their assignment. And these assignments are submitted to me over the internet, and the student receives an individual report on their assignment. And I'll be configuring those individual reports to assist a student in achieving the objective of evolving a design suited to their specific desires and needs. So it'll be a very personal engagement you'll receive. And my role will be to support these design aspirations and to guide a student's progress through each segment using my considerable shelter making experience. Now, there'll also be an open-ended question and answer facility open to all students for the duration of the course, and students will also have the option of having personal online video or telephone consultation with me on their projects, should they so wish. So despite the seriousness and the challenge of designing an architecture appropriate to one's life, the Sheltermaker experience brims with potentiality in respect of plotting one's forward path in a rapidly changing world. Now, my own life and the lives of the students who have followed this path testify to this, and you can dip into some of the videos on the website and see that for yourself. So how might one sum up this potential in a single phrase? Well, how about this? Shape your architecture to suit your life and the life of the planet. So on that note, I'll sign off, and I look forward to working with you over the next few months as you live your architecture. So further details are available from sheltermaker.com or livingarchitecturecenter.com, and you can enroll for the course, ask questions about it, and so on from those websites. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to working with you. Bye.